Welcome back, everybody. Today, we'll be discussing the Jordan 1 Lucky Green once again. Specifically, we'll be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Jordan 1 Lucky Green and why. To preface this, if you guys enjoy these types of videos regarding the market, reselling, and even info on how to acquire these limited products, be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications. This way, you're always 100% updated. Furthermore, for more urgent updates like the recent shock drops we've seen, follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and also personals for you. And of course, for early information before these drops actually occur, Endurance has your back. In fact, there will be a limited Endurance restock tomorrow, April 14th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. CEST, just in time for the Jordan 1 Lost and Found restock. For those who don't know, the Jordan 1 Lucky Green releases on April 14th, tomorrow. Retail is $180 for men's sizes, $140 for grade school, $85 for preschool, and $70 for toddler. Stock between all sizes combined is over 180,000 pairs, which is around average for what we have seen recently on Jordan 1 general releases. In order to determine if the Jordan 1 Lucky Green will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will settle at after the drops, and also when shipments come in, essentially the pairs going into circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically continue to decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time, and finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding. Not the retail to resell initial margin, but rather just the hold margin over X period of time. Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range that these should be settling at. To begin with, stock for these is just about average for Jordan 1 general release, which is fairly high. As for demand, it's not looking great. Despite pre-sale already being so low and just about $10 over retail currently, the sale volume still is just about average to below average for Jordan general release. If you recall the sale volume for the Jordan 1 Lost and Found pre-drop, despite their super high pre-sale, 1 hour's worth of sales couldn't even fit on StockX's default load. When it comes to these Lucky Greens, however, we could only see a few within a 1 hour time span, despite their significantly lower pre-sale. This is not a good thing to see, obviously, particularly because pre-sale is only about $10 over retail right now. With that said, I'm mostly just expecting these to be personals, unless you have a good local buyer and no tax in your state, contrary to my initial expectations, which were just slightly better. Now, regarding a specific range, prices have already seen the vast majority of their pre-drop decrease since it is the night before. This leaves the current average at about $190 for sizes 8 to 12. Now, we normally see a notable change post-US drop. This is one we normally experience what I like to refer to as the impulsivity effect. You guys should know what I'm referring to by now, as we discuss this very frequently, yet it almost always still occurs to some degree. Regarding the impulsivity effect, if you haven't watched my seller hold videos before, sneaker drops specifically impact human impulsiveness significantly after an individual fails to acquire that desired product due to insufficient supply and too much demand. Therefore, on average, we normally see about a 5 to 10% increase of the pre-drop prices post-drop. When it comes to these, based off the lackluster bids and poor sale volume, despite the very low pre-sale, I'm unfortunately not expecting a positive impulsivity effect. In fact, nothing at all. Luckily, I'm not expecting a negative one either, considering they're already so low. With that said, we have a very advanced calculation to perform, as you can see, which leaves the potential post-drop average at $190. Now, let's discuss what prices will look like once these shipments go out in the 1 to 2 week range. During this period, the vast majority of pairs will be going into circulation. Normally, I'd expect the typical 10% decrease, but considering pre-sale and the potential post-drop average is already so low, I'd only expect about a 5% decrease as shipments start going out. This would then hypothetically leave prices at about $181, resulting in a loss unless you have good local buyers and no tax in your state, and even then, you're hardly making much. This is a pretty similar fate as to what we saw on the Jordan 1 True Blue, but only hardly better, or less worse, I should really say. Now that the average price range at those points in time are evident though, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase from the post-shipment prices or even hypothetically continue to decrease. If we take a look at a colorway that's similar, we have the Jordan 1 Yellow Toe. Both have similar color blocking and a non-universal primary colorway, being yellow or green, with the Lucky Greens having a slight advantage with the black and white toe box. While it only has been about half a year, it is worth noting that there hasn't been any notable positive increase within that time frame. Now, one might say, well, look at the Jordan 1 Pine Green, look how high those are. First of all, when these released, they were also initially bricks. I think it's reasonable to attribute these prices right now that you see to macroeconomical factors during the 2020 to 2021 money printing craze, that of which we've actually discussed on this channel many times before. In fact, we could see that recently they've actually been on a decline. Am I cherry picking here, or is that reasonable to conclude? You tell me, because remember, this is an open dialogue. Someone actually called me out on this for referencing the Jordan 3 black cement in the white cement video, and I think that's very fair, especially since these macro factors were precisely what I myself have outlined in several videos. Remember, I'm not claiming to be an oracle, we're all in this together, and I think dialogue like this is really helpful. Anyway, with that stated, despite these already being so low in value, I'm not expecting a significant increase for quite a while. In fact, they may even plateau at this low range for a period of time as well, as we've seen on the yellow toes. Long term, eventually I am sure these will increase, of course, perhaps not by a significant amount though. So finally, regarding the hold margin on these, essentially, are they going to be worth your time even if they do eventually start increasing? Considering I'm expecting these to plateau or at least not increase in value for a fair period of time, like the yellow toes, this obviously means that you shouldn't expect a good short-term ROI. Long-term, when these do eventually increase, even if by a small amount, it really won't take that much to see a decent ROI relative to other sneakers we've discussed with higher values, considering the value on these Lucky Greens right now is already so low. So that's one positive. Hence, I would rate these a 4 out of 10 hold, which is unfortunately below average, but still not the worst, particularly because they are already so low in value. Personally, I'm just going to be copying a personal pair, but if I had multiple, hypothetically speaking, I'd just sell them as soon as possible. Also, just a note in general for anyone considering holding any items who does have low capital, you should never hold anything in general if you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you need money to go for all drops, try to sell these as soon as possible. Let me know what you guys are doing with your pairs down in the comments below. Since this is a discussion at the end of the day, I can't predict the future. This is just my personal analysis based on the data that I've acknowledged. We have a lot of brilliant minds watching the video right now, so I implore you to leave your notions below as well. Anyway, that's going to conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or maybe if you learned a thing or two. Remember, there will be a limited endurance restock tomorrow, April 14th, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. CEST, just in time for the Jordan 1 Lost and Found restock. You can follow the Endurance Twitter if you happen to be interested. Subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped sneaker releases. Also, if you would check out the other links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies from Kip Proxies. You can also now join eDeals with the link in the description below for completely free. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for You. This way you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was going over today. With that said, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck if you happen to be going for these.